Okay, I want to welcome everybody. It's Thursday, I think. It's hard to keep track of some of the days, but it's Bernard Nomberg with the Nomberg Law Firm in Birmingham. And as we've been doing for the last few months, a couple of times a week, we have discussions with different areas of society, people representing different areas of society and the impact that the pandemic has had. And I've been so pleased with these discussions and interviews. And I'm particularly happy to have my friend, Tuscaloosa attorney Josh Hayes, with us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Josh.
Hey, Bernard, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, absolutely. I too have been looking forward to this since we're both attorneys and we need access to the court system. And that's what we're going to talk about for a little bit this
Right.
afternoon. But before we jump into that, I want to tell you a little bit about Josh. He's a partner with Prince Glover and Hayes out of Tuscaloosa. They do trial work and they do it so very, very well. And we've been fortunate. David and I have partnered up with Josh and his firm a few times and enjoy a great professional relationship. We also belong to the same or some similar professional organizations. Josh is the recent past president of the Alabama Association for Justice. And I don't know if you're currently on it or if you've just been a member of the Alabama State Bar's task force dealing with COVID-19. So, Josh, thank you for making some time. I know you're out of town today, but this is an important topic, and I'm really glad that we're going to spend a few minutes talking about it.
Yeah, Bernard, thank you for having me again. And I likewise, right back to you and David, I enjoy any chance I get to work with good lawyers like you two, and hope we can find some more to work on down the road. But yeah, it's been strange times in Alabama in general or across the world, really, but especially as a lawyer. How do we keep on keeping on representing the clients that we need to?
It really, lawyers are all over the board with how much they rely on technology, social media, and doing those things. It's always been most firms just are very slow to adapt to things, to change. If it's always been working for us, why change kind of mentality. Other
Yeah.
law firms, maybe some of the younger generation of lawyers are much more quick to adapt to social media, more adapt to being in a virtual workspace or telecommuting if you have it. But all of that very quickly ramped up and changed for the entire world, and in particular our world, the legal profession, by mid-March. I know that David and I went to a skeleton crew where just some of us are in the office, some of us are working from home. And I'm sure your firm and many other firms had to figure out their own system that worked for them. So before we jump into the court system, tell us how is your firm adapted? And I know you're not only are you open for business, but you're conducting business almost as normal, but just a
Mhm.
little bit different. How's your firm adapted to that?
Yeah, it's been a challenge for sure. Thankfully, I don't know that we were a whole lot ahead of the curve, but we were at least up to speed with the idea of being able to practice remotely. In fact, Bernard, I tell people I've been practicing remotely for a few years now because I have spent so much time in Montgomery and thankfully have all our systems to where we can work wherever we are. Now, the difference has been we were not all remote at the same time without anybody minding the chicken coop, for lack of a better term. So, that has been interesting and has required some planning and thought. Certainly, when it first hit, we closed the doors, posted the sign, and now we do have staff back there who work better there, who choose to work better there. We also have staff that work remotely 100% of the time. That's working well too. We're just trying to take into account the individual needs of our employees and staff and lawyers too. So I like to say that I work from home pretty well until my teenagers get up, and then I flee to the office for some peace and quiet for a little bit. But some of both right now. Thanks for asking.
Well, it really it's taken a while for law firms to figure it out. It's taken a while for even the most adept lawyers dealing with online services. But once you figure it out, as you said, it's not that much different than from what the way a lot of us have practiced. And frankly, there's a lot of changes, Josh, that I'd like better.
Yeah.
Particularly, for those of us similar to your firm, that we don't get paid hourly. We get paid on a contingency fee. So we have to be very selective in our cases. We have to be very efficient in our time. And if I don't have to drive 8 hours for a round trip at another part of the state for a 10-minute hearing, but I can conduct it on Zoom or some other FaceTime like conference, I'm all for that. So I think there's going to be a lot of good changes that come out of this as well. So,
I agree.
But where I want to go is when society basically shut down and the governor put into place the safe at home laws, and then it's evolved into different phases over the last few months, that effectively shut down physically you being able to go to the courthouse. And when that happens, whether it's civil case or criminal case, it really changes a lot of things for a lot of people. But I don't want you to have to take us through the entire history of all of this. So let's just start where the fact was we got shut down for a little while till everybody could figure out what was next. Bring us up to speed, Josh, where we are now on the ability for them to be able to bring their cases into court and then have their cases heard by a trier of fact.
Yeah, Bernard, it has been quite the journey for the legal system throughout this. I'm thankful that we have had a state bar president in Christy Crow that showed a remarkable initiative from the jump. And the task force you mentioned earlier, she wisely put together a task force of appellate judges. So there are 3 members of the Alabama Supreme Court. There are trial judges from across the state, and they represent small counties, large counties, and everything in between. And then you have practitioners. And so there were 3 or 4 plaintiffs' lawyers, what you and I do, represented from our perspective. And then there were 3 or 4 defense lawyers. So, we really tried to take a hard look at how do we move forward going forward. Hopefully this isn't, I really don't like the phrase new normal, because I hope this is not the normal going forward. But where we find ourselves now, courthouses are reopened, thankfully. The people's business has to get done. And I mentioned this yesterday when I accepted your invitation and put it on my Facebook. The 7th Amendment is a bedrock principle of our U.S. Constitution, part of the Bill of Rights. And it simply says the right to trial by jury is a right that every citizen must have. And so how do you balance that with public health directives, with safer at home or stay at home orders? And honestly, Bernard, that's still a ongoing process. We have meetings regularly of this task force. I'm part of a kind of a subcommittee meeting next week on an issue. And, we're just going to do the best we can, recognizing that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So the Jefferson County Courthouse may have to handle things differently than my courthouse in Tuscaloosa. And I do applaud Chief Justice Parker and the court for putting a lot of the authority to make these decisions in the hands of the local presiding judges. You've got a great one in Birmingham, and Judge French, and she certainly knows what her courthouse needs more than anyone in Montgomery does. And so, in court proceedings are available if that's the way to do it. But I'm like you, Bernard, there's a lot that we have done historically that does not have to be done that way anymore. And so a lot of judges are sending out Zoom invites for hearings. I have 2 next week and some very high profile and big damages cases. So it's not just smaller matters. I mean, we can communicate just fine, just like you and I are right now, without being present. Now, jury trials are another issue, and the Supreme Court has suspended those through at least September 15th of 2020. Hopefully we can get them back rolling shortly after that.
Well, Josh, it's every county obviously is different size by way of population. Every county or city, if you will, can create their own city or county ordinances. I know the ones in Birmingham are not the same as they are in Tuscaloosa. It's not the same as they are in any other town, but that's Our Mayor Woodfin's been very proactive. I know Mayor Maddox has been very, very proactive in wanting to protect the residents of Tuscaloosa and of Birmingham. But with that, and because we've never been here, because we're chartering new territory, it really has become a system of trying to figure out what's best for the local communities. And as you just mentioned, access to the courthouse never changes. People need to have their matters heard, whether it's a civil matter like what we've been talking about, or criminal matters that need to be prosecuted. But I do applaud, and I echo your sentiments. Chief Justice Parker, and as well as all the way down to the presiding judges, have been able to slowly navigate those waters, if you will. And I too, as has my brother and other attorneys here, we've been able to have evidentiary hearings where the judges are now becoming, as so are the attorneys, much more comfortable about how Zoom and the other online services work. We've had hearings, we've had depositions, much like your office. But I think that trials, particularly when you have a jury, that becomes a whole different matter because you have so many moving parts, so many people trying to figure that part out. Now, I'm not trying to ask you to look in the crystal ball and make a prediction, but if jury trials are suspended for the next few months, this is an unfair question. Do we think it'll be actually open for jury trials in September? Are courts making changes right now behind the scenes so where people can physically come into the spaces? Are you aware of those things going on?
I am. And again, some counties are much further progressed along than others. But I know in a lot of jurisdictions, there's a whole lot of plexiglass going up as we speak. So you think of a jury box, and if they're going to be in that same jury box, and I'm not sure that they all are, but those are close together seats. And so there's some jurisdictions that are putting each chair in a plexiglass container, for lack of a better word. And so they're able to keep their same location there. There are other jurisdictions that are looking at spreading the jury out all over the courtroom. And so as a practitioner, the idea of having a juror member behind me is not a great thing, because as my partner and trial ad expert, Bob Prince, reminds all of us all the time, you never want to turn your back on a juror because they take offense by that. Well, if they're already seated behind you, if they're all over. So a lot of those norms go out the window, but you also have to protect the witness box from the judge's box, from where the clerk and the court reporter sit, and the security and the impaneling a jury and asking voir dire questions. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's complicated. Thankfully, we've got some good leadership and a lot of lawyers that are devoting a lot of volunteer hours to try to get the system back up to speed. Because like you mentioned, Bernard, just because the pandemic shut everything down, people's problems still keep going, right? So we must figure out a way to have those grievances heard.
Josh, how are you, your firm, and the different organizations that you and I belong to, how do you get out the word to your clients, to prospective new clients, other than programs like this with us talking? How are you communicating to those people who are asking those questions? For example, I had a car accident in April and I was pretty badly hurt, but the insurance company is now telling me we're not doing anything right now. We're not going to take care of you. We're not going to negotiate with you. So I'm now coming to the Josh, to you for help. What are you telling these people about how we can still protect their legal rights and needs?
Yeah, see, that's a real problem, because the attitude of the insurance companies, some of them, not all of them, but the idea that, well, we don't have to do anything now because we don't have the imminent threat of a jury staring us down and making us do what we should willingly want to do. That's a real problem, because there are a lot of companies that will not settle a case until they have a trial date. And that's just kind of how you have to operate. So, from the jump, we're telling new clients that this is unprecedented. We're going to do our part to advance your case. We will certainly not be slower with anything. Go get your medical treatment. We'll get all the records. We will continue to advance your case, send subpoenas, take depositions, investigate, meet with witnesses. But the real key component in all of that is a jury trial, the threat of a jury trial. And so, I'm not one to sugarcoat things with clients. And so I think we ought to address it head on. And so their expectations are tempered with how long a case might take during this climate. It's a real challenge. And that's why I'm so urgent. And Rip Andrews, our new ALJ president, I applaud him for his urgency. I mean, he knows the jury trials have to get going for our members, but really more importantly for our clients. Because without that finality of a jury deadline, then insurance companies most of the time will not do the right thing.
They just kind of languish out there because the longer they hold on to their money, the better it is for them, but it's to our clients' detriment. For those of you who are just joining us or maybe watching us later on, I'm speaking with friend and fellow attorney out of Tuscaloosa, Josh Hayes. Josh is the past president of the Alabama Association for Justice. He's also on the state of Alabama Bar's COVID-19 task force. And so we're kind of tapping into some of Josh's knowledge and getting some of his expertise and sharing it out about how access to courts and access to protecting your civil rights, remedies, and whatever it may be, not only from a civil standpoint. I know you don't practice criminal law, but I do want to touch on that for just a minute. We're just trying to share the word, how court system is still operating, even though you may not have physical access to the courts, to the building, the brick and mortar, work still is going on. And we find, Josh, that's such a key thing for our office to be able to communicate with our clients on a continual basis, whether it's phone calls or Skype or texting or emails, whatever it is, we continually are trying to update our clients, even if it's to say, there's no changes in the last 2 weeks. And my question to you is, has the bar given any guidelines to the state bar members about proper ways to communicate? Do they do that? Have they offered anything by way of guidance about how to communicate and what to communicate with clients at this time?
Not that I've seen, but I love the idea. And we do have a very proactive bar. So with your permission, I'll pass that up the food chain. I do think
Christy's not going to be happy with me, but sorry.
Well, Christy's having a very good day today and tomorrow because her term is ending. So she'll be passing the gavel to Bob Methvin, another friend in Birmingham. And so I'll tell Bob that on his first day, Bernard gave him a big.
Oh, he's going to love that. He's going to love it.
But I do think it's a good idea because what the bar does mandate us to do is to be good communicators with our clients, right? That's one of the easiest ways that lawyers can get in trouble for neglecting or ignoring, we see the complaints, unfortunately, Bernard, every time we pick up the Alabama Lawyer magazine, that one of the easiest ways for lawyers to get in trouble is lack of communication. And so during these unprecedented times, I think it's incumbent upon us to do better than they're expecting. Bernard, your firm has always been a leader in communicating with however the client wants to communicate. I remember David and you advocating years ago, lawyers for years were very hesitant to give out their cell phones, right? But if that's how the clients communicate by text and you were trying to put your square peg into their round hole of insisting on email, it is natural conflict that we don't have to have, right? So however is best to communicate, that's what I want to do too. And I do think the idea of proactively informing clients, this is the latest from the Supreme Court, here's how it affects your case. We've sent all letters like that all along too. And to all our colleagues out there that haven't done that yet, it's not too late. Please do it. Does not take long. Form letter or email that just kind of explains what you are doing to advance your client's cases going forward. But I love the idea about some guidance from the state bar. I will follow up on that.
Yeah, it's, I never would have dreamed that texting with my clients would become a regular thing. We all pride the privacy of our cell phone number. Well, we practice in a whole new world these days.
Yeah,
When my dad was practicing back in the day, they didn't even have cell phones. You had to
sure.
catch him at the office. But anyway, it's a whole new world. I don't mean to sound like an old guy, but we're adapting and we're figuring it
We're
out.
getting there.
That's right. Well, Josh, I know we've only got a few more minutes. I know you've got another meeting coming up, but I want to ask you, I guess I want to leave you with the last word here is what would you say going forward? Let's assume worst case scenario, college football season doesn't go off the way we want it to. That's a whole nother conversation. But B, the courthouses don't open in September, but actually get pushed back, jury trials get pushed back another 3 months. What do we as practitioners need to communicate with our clients? What do we need for the clients and prospective potential clients who are out there? Be informed about, maybe it's just having some patience. I don't know what the key words are, but I want to, I guess, tap into what you're hearing and seeing and maybe leave us with some words of wisdom for others.
Well, I don't know that I have a whole lot of wisdom, but I do think what we must never forget is that clients come to us on their very worst days. Nobody comes to see me because they have something good that's happened in their lives, nor you, right? I mean, it's devastation either through loss of a loved one or loss of a body part or lost wages or income or worse. And so we've got to continue to empathize and communicate well with people who need us on their worst day. And so it quickly becomes, when you look at things through that lens, as I know you and David do too, it quickly becomes not about us. It is not about how frustrated I am with the system and why can't we get things going and why won't people wear masks so we can get back in jury boxes. No, I can't. I mean, I can't. I could spend that energy that way, and some days I do, and it's tough on us all. But isn't it better to try to find new and creative approaches? Okay, so the jury box won't work here. Let's put it there, or we can't use all 6 entrances to the Tuscaloosa courthouse. Let's use 2 so we can lock it down. I want to be part of the solution. That's why I've been pleased to serve on the task force. And I think our attitude about things is probably the most important part of all of it, Bernard. And so I just encourage people, let's stay positive about the thing. Let's think creatively. Just because I've always taken a certain deposition a certain way does not mean I can't do it just like you and I are. I can take depositions this way. I've done it. May not be my favorite, but I'm going to do it to keep clients' cases advancing. So, long story short, I guess, Bernard, it's all right here. We've got to have good attitudes. We've got to have good hearts about it all and just roll with the punches. Our country is hurting, and hurting people need lawyers, and I'm going to be there for hurting people. My clients are not. So I know you guys are too, and I applaud you for this program and what you guys do to communicate with people who don't have access to a lawyer.
Well, Josh, I certainly could not have said it any better. And it's one of my favorite quotes is from Teddy Roosevelt's famous Republic speech, and part of it is called "Man in the Arena."
Yep.
And it's very easy for individuals to sit on the sidelines and be critics. Anyone can do that. But it's attorneys like you and your law firm and others who you're associated with, you're getting in there and you're solving problems. And I applaud that. And I hope that people who watch this program understand that it's lawyers like you and your firm and others are doing just that, making the courthouses available, pushing forward with civil and criminal cases. And if people will just have patience, things will work out. But Josh, thank you again for your time and your wisdom and your expertise today. I sure appreciate it.
Oh, the pleasure's been mine. It's my treat. And I love these shows. I've watched most of them, and I hope to keep watching them in the days ahead. So keep it up. Keep up the good work. My best to David.
Well, thank you. And guys, this will conclude today's discussion. Access to the court system through the pandemic. We've done about 20 of these different discussions. All segments of society have been impacted by the pandemic. But instead of just sitting on the sidelines, we're talking to people who are in the game and figuring out or finding out what they're doing to help society to move forward. So thank you as always. This will conclude it for today, and we will talk to you guys another time. Be safe, be patient, use common sense.